Hello and welcome to the Freedom Zone. I'm your host Candace, and we're here where the truth is set free, whether you like it or not. Today we'd like to pause and remember a great comedian, Tim Conway. He passed yesterday. He was the funniest human being on the planet. He could always make everybody laugh. He kept his colleagues in stitches. In fact, the Carol Burnett show, which was live every week, he would ad-lib at the last minute and everybody'd be laughing so hard they couldn't do their own lines. It was always hilarious, always clean, always good comedy, and he will be so sorely missed, especially since the comedians of today are mostly hate speech, and it's not even funny what they're talking about, and it's just a shame that comedy is passing away with some of these old timers. And as someone who really loves comedy, it breaks my heart. But rest in peace, Tim Conway. You will be sorely missed. Former U.S. Attorney of Connecticut, John Durham, has been tapped by John Barr to investigate into the origins, that's an important word, of the Russia investigation, as into who knew what, and when. That's another important word. When did they know it? He's looking to see who started it, who brought things in to go on or to make up some sort of issue so that they could bring an internal investigation on the president. And it's starting to come to light that this was never a crime. Of course, the Mueller report totally exonerated the president. There was no collusion, there was no obstruction, because you can't obstruct something that's not a crime. And it appears that probably a lot more people knew a lot more than they're letting on, and now it's starting to come to the light. He's starting to put the pieces together. According to the news, he has been on it for several weeks. Now, I don't know if when Devin Nunes and several others started coming forth with indictments, I don't know if he was contributing to that or if this is something they were doing on their own. But it has the majority of the Democrats completely running scared. They are starting to bite at each other, and eventually somebody's going to sing. That's the funny part, is that eventually they're going to sing. And you can tell that because when James Comey was on TV, he had several ugly things to say about Rod Rosenstein. And Comey, who's always been extremely holier than thou, said that he started casting stones at Rod Rosenstein as far as putting doubt on his job performance. And as Rosenstein pointed out in a speech, Comey was worried about Rosenstein's immortal soul. I did not know that Comey got a job as judge for the Lord, but it looks like he thinks he does. He probably is the most holier than thou person that you'll ever want to meet. He's the super patriot. He's blah, 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 whatever. But he's talked so much that he's got everything on tape and in his book that I doubt that he's going to get away unscathed, because he's told too many things, he's pointed too many fingers, and I think that he will eventually have to be judged on everything that he said, and most of it is mostly crap. I mean, he's calling Rosenstein a partisan pundit as he sells books and earns speaking fees. So the pot's definitely calling the kettle black on this one. And he was a failure as the director of the FBI, and he's not much of a person, if you want my opinion. But I predict that the Democrats are going to start singing on each other, and I mean that'll include Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, and any others that were involved in that. They've been key players all along, and they definitely are going to start talking. I don't think they're the head of the snake. I think that it'll go on up into Hillary. It'll probably go up into the previous administration a good deal. because they were just they were the messenger boys as far as like Strzok and Page. They were carrying water for McCabe and Comey and the previous administration. So look to hear a hallelujah chorus when the pressure comes down from this John Durham, because he's not a partisan player. He is a law and order man. He's put people from the CIA in jail, corrupt FBI officials in jail, and he doesn't care if you're his friend. So he and Barr together are going to make a great team to get everything that's been done in the dark in this country, bringing it out to the light. And the more pressure the AG's office puts on people involved in the FISA abuse, the Russian investigation, I think you'll see judges. If the FISA judges were misled, I would be angry if I was them. If they were going along with it, I think they should be prosecuted just like everybody else. And eventually the public and the private fights are going to start showing. It's going to be pretty entertaining. So get a box of popcorn, sit back, and watch the show, because it's going to be a big thing when someone tells on the other and then the house of cards fall apart. Comey's always had the right to remain silent, but he's been unable to do that. So I think that he'll pay the price on that. Also, current director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, has once again proven that he is an empty suit in his testimony before Congress. He also protested the word spying. I think it is what it is, and Attorney General Barr said that, and he said he liked the word, but they don't want to come out and admit that that's what they were doing, which actually spying isn't illegal if it's predicated. If they know that person A is an operative for someone else, then it's okay, but they don't know that it was predicated at that point with the Trump campaign, so that could be a really big problem. But I mean, it's an extreme splitting of hairs on a simple word, and I have to quote the bard on this one, who we know is Shakespeare. Methinks he doth protest too much. Speaking of empty suits, what has former Attorney General Jeff Sessions been up to these days? Well, as we know, while he was in office, he basically didn't do a lot, and he recused himself early on the Russia probe, which probably, if he had not done that, we might not be at this point today. Somebody should have, he should have been taken out early, I suppose, because he wasn't there to control these rats chewing on a carcass of supposed collusion, and so it just got out of hand. He did get honored in March, though, by the Department of Justice, and awarded him with his chair, which he occupied while he had a cabinet post. He did thank the gathering for the chair, and he said that the 21 months that he was the nation's chief law enforcement officer, quote, was the most meaningful months of my professional life. Okay. Still, he did do some work to combat violent crime and reduce illegal immigrations, and was very supportive of local law enforcement, which was a boon because the previous administration was so quick to condemn and judge law enforcement for doing their job even before the facts ever came out. I'm still not sure exactly why Sessions wanted to be the Attorney General. If he recused himself immediately upon being sworn in. The Attorney General is a very important job, and protecting the President from an obvious and proven hit job would have been nice and saved us about $35 million in taxpayer money for the Mueller investigation, which I personally think we all need to start a petition to get that money back. I think that Mueller has padded his retirement fund. All of the other ones that were part of his team, really they didn't come up with anything that was their mission, that was their main objective. All they came up with some peripheral crimes, white collar crimes by people who were associated with Trump, and really I don't see how that benefited the public. I don't see how that helped the taxpayers. We have to blame Jim Comey for the special counsel because he's a leaker and a liar. But that particular effort, shall we call it, I guess we can call it an effort, turned out nothing, just like the president said it would. Turned out spying and wiretapping and unmasking, just as the president said early in the campaign, and yet was totally ridiculed for because, oh, he was crazy, he just was making it up and all. Well, now he's been vindicated on many counts because he wasn't making it up. He was telling the truth. It amazes me how many times he's right. He says, hey, something's going on, and he's right. Of course, I realize he's privy to a lot more information than we are, but he's usually right. And this should never happen again to a president. I can't believe that I've lived long enough to see a coup on a legitimately elected president. I also can't believe that I've lived long enough to see one of our citizens seek asylum in Russia, such as Edward Snowden. That if you told me that 25 years ago, I'd have said you were completely out of your mind, and I wouldn't have believed you. But I guess for all intents and purposes, the Mueller case is closed, supposedly. All they can do is continue to harangue and expound on people that may have said something, may have gone by Trump Tower and had a white Russian, and they want to bring them in and question them. They want the Attorney General to break the law and give them grand jury information when he can't do that because that's illegal. And they're hoping that they can get him on something, but there really isn't anything for them to get him on because he's following the letter of the law. And I'm so happy that we have people now who are law and order people, who aren't trying to be corrupt, who aren't trying to be a banana republic participant, because this is all it is. It was like crazy people running around looking for something to pin on the president, and there just wasn't anything. Like him or hate him, the president is doing a very, very good job. We're all working. There's jobs coming back. He's trying his best to protect us from the immigration crisis, while he does it, among great obstruction and lack of cooperation by anyone who was elected to help him do that. He hasn't had a shred of help from the people who are supposed to be making laws with him. But we'll move on. The Mueller case is case closed, and our president is great. And we'll take a break, and we'll be back with some other things that I want to talk to you about today.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Hi, I'm Rhonda the Mattress Lady, and this is my husband Gary, owners of Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
And we want to earn your business. From the time you walk in our door to the time we deliver your new mattress to your door, you will see the difference. Our selection and prices are the best in North Georgia, and customer service is our top priority. So y'all come on in and let us help you find the right mattress at the right price. That's Mattress Overstocked in LJ next to Walmart.
Circuit World, with multiple locations to serve you in Murphy and Franklin, North Carolina, Blairsville, Blue Ridge, and Ellijay, Georgia. Locally owned and operated since 1985. Appliances, electronics, and furniture. Name brand products like LG, Samsung, Dell, Whirlpool, Ashley, Catnapper, and more. No credit check, only 10% down on furniture, and only $10 down on any new lease purchase. Mention FYN10 for your special deal today at Circuit World. In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
We're back. Thank you for joining us in the second half of the Freedom Zone. We have a few more things to go over today that I find pretty interesting, and I hope you will too. Talk about a few of the Democratic presidential candidates. And let's start with Elizabeth Warren, better known as Pocahontas, because she has no Native American in her, and she's quite a she's quite a case, way out in left field, if you want my opinion. She was invited to Fox News for a town hall. Now, Bernie Sanders and Amy Klobuchar have already taken advantage of the Fox News town hall, which, as far as Amy Klobuchar goes, that's a good deal because it doesn't look like her and several others are going to raise sufficient funds in order to be invited to the Democratic debate, which isn't that amazing that you have to raise a certain amount of money to run for president. So not every little kid can grow up to be president if they're not very good at raising funds. But she had some really nasty reasons as to why she wasn't going to accept. Instead of saying thank you, no thank you, she said, quote, "Fox News is a hate-for-profit racket that gives a megaphone to racists and conspiracists." That's nice. There's a lot of congressmen and senators and real journalists that work for Fox News. And I haven't seen any of them with a megaphone, and I don't hear them talking about hate. In fact, they invite people who claim hate or claim, this and that's wrong with the world, and they ask them, what's going on with you? What do you think? And then, they can debate it or whatever. They try to give points to each side. But, she doesn't seem to think so, but that's not unusual for her. Maybe she just is busy drinking a beer or something. But she later tweeted that Fox, quote, is a balance. Balance is a mix of bigotry, racism, and outright lies with enough legit journalism to make the claim to advertisers that it is a reputable news outlet. It's all about dragging in the money, big ad money. Really. So you and Bernie Sanders both are just like so pure that you really don't need money and you really don't want to make money. But since you do make money, it's okay because, it's there. As in Bernie says, I created a product that people wanted, so I'm not going to apologize for being a millionaire. I love this I'm so pure kind of thing. I don't need money. And let's examine what Elizabeth Warren has done in pursuit of money. Now, we all have to work, and that's fine. But, wow, the things that she's saying about Fox sounds more like a more accurate description to me of CNN or MSNBC, only there's very little legitimate journalism They go around and make up stuff or quote anonymous sources, which is like basically pulling it out of the air. And I guess what Mother always taught us about being quiet, if you can't say something nice, doesn't apply to her. But she's not using her head. Number one, she's an idiot, and this is pretty evident when she talks. Number two, it's unlikely that anyone else will offer her any other kind of airtime. And three, as I said before, she has not raised enough money to enter any of the Democratic debates. But speaking of money, and this is important, and I don't know if anyone's thought about this, but shouldn't she pay Harvard back for the time she worked there as a quote-unquote Native American? She was a poser. Somebody who actually was a Native American, who had the qualifications to do that job, was knocked out of doing that. So shouldn't she like start a grant program or something for Native American education or something to that effect? Because basically she swindled that money by telling a lie. Now, you can't go back in time, but you know, sometimes cash will make up for some of the hurts. Many times the organizations, you know, receive federal grants and funds to hire minorities or to give them education. She really should start something and start her mea culpa on I was wrong, especially since she's used that practically her whole entire professional life, which is really bogus, because she also put it on her Texas Bar Association form that she was Native American. When the people get extra funds for having Native Americans or minorities or such like, that's not fair. That she got it, or she allowed people to get it because she's told this lie, and yet people who really are Native American that really would have the qualifications to do the same thing didn't get hired or didn't get the placement to get the grants, to get the funds. So she's got a lot of explaining to do as far as the money that she has misappropriated by her false claims. I mean, maybe her grandmother did think they were Native American, but the blood test certainly hasn't proved out, and she really ought to stop. But she won't. And like the other Democratic candidates, they just run around like crazy, quoting each other or copying each other. I don't know which one it would be, because if one has a radical idea, the other one wants to jump in on it. But we do have plenty of other Democratic candidates that we can talk about. So which other Democratic candidate has done some crazy didos this week? What about crazy Uncle Joe Biden? Mr. Gropes, Mr. Sniffus, crazy, handsy Uncle Joe. Well, it looks like the Ukraine is going to open up a previously closed investigation into Hunter Biden, that's his son, who is also in a business arrangement with John Kerry's stepson, Christopher Hines, and Devin Archer. And it seems that there was a problem in the Ukraine when they were working there, and they had an investigation against Hunter. And at this time, they were in crisis because of the Russians invading the Ukraine and things like that. So the American people, that's you and me, we were going to give them $1 billion to try and straighten out their mess. And Biden was over there, and he found out his son was under investigation. So he threatens the president that he must fire his attorney general in 6 hours, or that money wasn't going to materialize. And the president said, well, you're not Obama, you can't do that. And he said, call him. He said, I'm leaving in 6 hours, and if that guy's not fired, there won't be any money. So lo and behold, he was fired. And then if you'll remember, he was bragging about leveraging that money, which is my money, your money, against this country that is struggling, which that's another point that we can go over another day, because I'm not sure we need to help everybody in the world. But he managed to get his son off the hook, and that was, I think, 2014. So now it's 5 years later, Ukraine is reopening that investigation, which is great because now he's not the vice president. He doesn't have the leverage. And I think Rudy Giuliani is looking into that too, which could be very interesting. The only problem is there are some anti-Trump administration people in the Ukraine, so he's not going over there yet, but I think he'll make it over there. And if you remember too, Joe Biden was talking about China not being an issue to us. They're really great guys. They're not competition to us. They steal all of our intellectual properties, which anybody that puts a patent on anything in this country, they have no respect for it over there. They'll just copy it, make it cheaper, and cut out the person who came up with the idea. Also, he didn't mention that Hunter has got a deal with China and got some consulting and things like that from them, so that they're kind of all in bed together. So naturally, they're not bad people because, somebody that in his family's making money off of it. This week he was asked about China and the problems with them, and his response was so incoherent. It was like on Charlie Brown where they go, wah, 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 wah. Made absolutely no sense, and you see the journalist like, okay, what was that? Because it just didn't, it was completely incoherent. It was just complete and total babble. So Biden doesn't understand that we used to be isolated from the world, and we used to take more of an isolationism policy. But now we've got Russia above us in Canada and in Alaska and in those waters up there. We've got China on the sides with intellectual properties, with internet observation and surveillance, which is a lot like spying, by the way. And then we've got Russia and China in South America, Central America. So we're surrounded in a way that we've never been surrounded before. And if you don't have a president that can take that seriously and understand that with our porous borders to the south, and there's so many people coming in, not just people from Mexico, South and Central America, Venezuela, all those places. No, they're Chinese, they're from the Middle East, they're from Bangladesh, they're from lots and lots of places because they know that border is open like a sieve, and there's just people just coming right through. You don't know what kind of agenda they have. There are so many people who are so jealous of the U.S., even though we try in our benevolence, and I think basically our intentions are good, but as you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But they don't like us. They want what we have. They don't understand that our formula for what we have is very different from what their formula for governments and things are. And they don't understand how the numbers add up so that we are the people that we are the country that we are, that we have the kind of as advantages that we do. So they are out to harm us. We've got crazy Uncle Joe and 22 other people. Beto's getting a haircut, and we have to watch. So, I mean, you've got people that are totally irrelevant and out in left field that are running for the Democratic nomination. Personally, I don't think any of them have a chance, but it could happen. But if I was a journalist, and just like when they ask Uncle Joe and he's like blah 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 blah, I would follow Richard Blumenthal around. This would be my idea of great fun. As you know, Richard Blumenthal was the hero of Da Nang, and he never went to Vietnam. So every time he came out with some really nasty things about Don Jr., and every time he gave a press conference, I would follow him, and then I would yell, "Tell us about your Vietnam service!" And then he'd ignore me, of course, and then I'd ask again, and then if he said anything or if he defended himself, because his thing was, I misspoke. How do you misspeak, missing a whole war, But I would be like, well, if you misspoke then, are you misspeaking now? I mean, wouldn't that be fun to just harass him as a journalist? And you know who else would be fun to harass? That would be Gerald Nadler. Because if you look at him, and then you look at Wimpy from Popeye, I would go around and follow him and say, hey, would you gladly pay us Tuesday for a hamburger today? because they look almost just alike if you look at the two pictures. I mean, for those of us that remember Popeye cartoons, you know that Wimpy was totally worthless and all he ever wanted to do was eat hamburgers. So, I mean, I don't see how the description or the comparison is all that far off. But anyway, we're out of time, and next week we'll think of something else fun to do if we were journalists in Washington. But be sure to join us next week because we have a very special show. I have some combat veterans that are going to lead in for Memorial Day with me, and you'll be interested to hear what they've gone through and what their stories are. And you can check me out on Facebook and Instagram and all of the others that I am on. And also, if you have a question or you want to comment, send me an email at fyntvcandace@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week.